Today is July 5th, 2024. And of course, a lot of things are going on in the world. So let me tell you about some of these things that are taking place in the world that you may be interested in. Keir Starmer is the new UK Prime Minister after a landslide victory. So that is something that is going on in the world, and people are paying attention to some of his initiatives and some of the things that he'll be putting into place and all along those lines. He has began forming his cabinet, and he's named Reeves for Treasury, and he is definitely looking at doing some new things in the uh, area of the UK. And all along those lines, outgoing UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has quit as the Conservative Party leader after those crushing defeats and crushing elections, and all along those lines. And Rachel Reeves became the UK's first female chancellor, with Angela Rayner, deputy prime minister. As I said, Keir Starmer has named his cabinet, and all along those lines. So definitely, this will be some interesting news that people will be paying attention to in terms of world politics and what's going on in that way. And Hurricane Beryl has made landfall in Mexico. Officials are warning people to protect their lives and definitely stay safe as they can, as that storm is hitting that part of the world. And it is definitely striking Cancun, Cozumel, Mexico, and looks like it may be coming into the U.S. I believe it's a Category 2 storm, and in that case, it'll be hitting Texas and all along those lines. So that is something else that is in the news that people will be paying attention to, and all along those lines. And Tokyo governor election, some candidates are using the race to go viral and seeking fame. Some people are saying that it's a wacky election campaigning is testing Tokyo's patience. Koike has a small lead as the Tokyo election campaign enters its final week, and Koike's governorship is apparently shaped by slogans and questions over follow through. And some people are asking whether Israel's Iron Dome can be overrun. Systems capability is in focus amid risk of definitely attacks on that dome. And Hezbollah is vowing more attacks after Israel kills one of their commanders. Soldiers killed as Hezbollah fires 200 rockets and 20 drones in a major attack on the north. So definitely we may be seeing more of that going on as well. And it looks like Trump ally Nigel Farage has been elected to British Parliament for the first time. So Donald Trump has congratulated his pal on the UK election win, and definitely Nigel Farage, I should say, and the Reform UK outperformed expectations, and definitely be interested to see how this plays out in the world as well. And Marine Le Pen promises French far right will rein in aid to Ukraine, and they also slammed the soccer star Mbappe, and all along those lines. So definitely, it looks like that is something else going on with one of the other elections in the world as well. And Victor Orban, Hungary's Viktor Orban, has arrived in Moscow on a controversial visit, and this is drawing an EU censure as he is going to be talking Ukraine peace with Putin. And apparently, they ended a 2.5 hours of talk in the Kremlin, and definitely this is something that a lot of folks are not that happy about, and all along those lines. And Iran is holding a runoff presidential vote, pitting hardliners against reformists. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news as well. So Iran voters face a stark contrast or a stark choice in their competitive presidential runoff. So definitely that is something else that people are paying attention to, just like they're paying attention to the whole Israel and Gaza conflict. And Biden tells Netanyahu it's time to close the Gaza hostage ceasefire deal. So a framework is in place on a hostage ceasefire deal after the Biden Netanyahu call, according to senior administration officials. So we'll see if this all plays out or how it plays out, and all along those lines. And it took Russia 3 months to capture one isolated Ukrainian neighborhood, but Ukraine's army retreat from position as Russia gets closer to seizing this area that I guess they're considering strategic, and all along those lines. So Ukraine army retreats from positions in strategic town as Russia troops close in on that area. And NATO leaders will vow to pour weapons into Ukraine for another year, but membership apparently is off the table. But they are looking at definitely sending folks into that area, and all along those lines. And of course, there are some people that are saying that Biden's physical aging is becoming more apparent in recent months. Biden lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. So definitely Access reporter on what some White House aides are saying post debate, and apparently they are saying that there is some anger within the Biden world. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out next week. And of course, we do have that conversation going on with George Stephanopoulos later on today that'll be aired, and we can see how he handles that particular interview and what goes on in that space. And it looks like the former Tory Prime Minister Liz Truss lost her seat to Labour in that particular race and all along those lines. So she's got the nickname of Liz Truss, and apparently she was one of those that was shocked in the election defeat and all along those lines. And apparently there were a number of folks that had been popular in the past that have now wound up losing and all along those lines. And the remains of a missing 12-year-old girl in Australia was found after an apparent crocodile attack. So that is definitely some sad news. And apparently remains were found in search for the 12-year-old following a reported crocodile attack in Australia. And apparently they had been swimming in a creek in that area. And I understand it in that particular part, there are quite a few crocodiles that are in that area. Matter of fact, I think I heard this. In some cases, the crocodiles may outpace the humans and all along those lines. But yes, definitely that was some very sad news that came to us as well. And there's pressure on Biden building as Democrats fear a big November loss. So Senator Hassan and Representative Pappas are answering questions about Biden's status. And apparently, a lot of folks are still trying to figure out what the next step will be in the from the Democrats in terms of the presidency and all along those lines. And Brazil police have indicted ex-president Bolsonaro in an undeclared diamond cases, according to sources. So that's something else that we're seeing in the news. And a week after an alleged coup attempt in Bolivia, confusion and conspiracy theories reign. So there's still a lot of conversation about that, just like there's a lot of conversation about Israel recognizing 3 illegal West Bank outposts and is advancing the construction of 5,295 homes. So that is something else that we are seeing in the news, and the NGO is calling out the largest land grab in decades. So a lot of people will be paying attention to that, just like they'll be paying attention to Mexico's incoming president, who has announced top posts, but her new cabinet apparently includes some of familiar faces as well. So Claudia Sheinbaum is the president, and she has tapped Garcia Harfuch as her security minister in a bid to tackle crime. So definitely it'll be interesting to see how this plays out as well. Let me get to the news before we get to bringing our panelists on and all along those lines. And then I'm sure they'll have some interesting things to say about a number of these stories as well as other stories as well. Wisconsin Supreme Court says that the ballot drop boxes can again be used. So the Wisconsin Supreme Court is reinstating the absentee ballot drop boxes. So that is something else that is in the news as well. And in terms of job losses, the U.S. is saying that 206,000 jobs were added in June. And so definitely that could be some good news for the economy. And all along those lines, it looked like the unemployment figures might have edged up slightly and everything. So we'll see how this all plays out. And a potentially historic heat wave is intensifying along the West Coast with no relief expected for days. So definitely looks like there's going to be some hot weather there, just like there's some hot weather over here in North Carolina. I think we had feel like temperatures of over 100 on yesterday. It's expected to be that today. I think it's expected to be that for several days in the near future. And Biden is set for a rally in Wisconsin. So he's going to be doing a rally in Wisconsin. And definitely, like I said earlier, there's that George Stephanopoulos interview. And definitely it looks like Biden is trying to recover from the debate and what went on in that space. And looks like a shark has attacked swimmers in South Padre Island, Texas, leaving 2 hurt. So the July 4th shark attack rattled Texas beachgoers, and 2 bitten in a shark attack in Texas's South Padre Islands. And Abigail Disney says Democrats will lose with Biden on ticket and pledges to stop donating until there is a new person at the top of the ticket. So this Disney Harris and a wealthy Democratic donor says wealthy Democratic donors say they won't finance the party until Joe Biden drops out. So definitely it should be interesting to see how this all plays out. And a former Democratic fundraiser said the DNC should be in panic mode over the donor exodus. So definitely this particular Disney's Harris says she'll stop donating to Democrats unless they replace Biden on the ticket. And three were killed during a 4th of July celebration in New York City when a suspected drunken driver plowed through that celebration and all along those lines. And I think that there was a shooting that was taking place in the Chicago area or Philadelphia area, if I'm remembering correctly, and all along those lines. So definitely that is correct. It was 9 shot in a Philadelphia area mass shooting, 9 shot, including 3 juveniles near 60th Street and Kingston Avenue in Southwest Philly. So it looks like at least 11 were killed and dozens were shot across Chicago in violent July 4th efforts as well. And it looks like there could have been as many, at least 55 shot or 12 fatally so far throughout Chicago during the extended July 4th weekend. So definitely there's a lot of news, and we'll be having some conversations around the death penalty as well. And a person is dead after a shootout with a park ranger at Yellowstone. So law enforcement involved shooting in the Yellowstone National Park. So that is something that comes back to our conversations around gun violence and all along those lines. So definitely that's some of the news that is going on in the world. By the way, there were also 2 killed and 3 hurt in a Huntington Beach attack, 1 in custody, and that's over there in California. So like I said, here to bring in our esteemed panel, and we'll see what they've got to say about a number of things. Maybe they were even participating in 4th of July activities. I know that Jacoby was over there at the Durham Bulls game where it was very hot, and they actually managed to lose. I think it was 17-7, but there was a tight game for most of the game, but then it got out of their control in the latter innings and all in that space. But we're getting ready to bring in the panel, and they'll have some conversations and some thoughts about a number of things going on and all along those lines. But that's just some of the things that were taking place that I wanted to let you know about in our news brief. And like I said, we'll get ready to bring up the panel and see what they've got to say about a number of these issues as well. But definitely that's kind of what's going on in the world, and we'll be back on Monday with more news briefs. But that's it for this particular day and this particular segment and all along those lines. So like I said, we'll bring up the panel and see what they've got to say about a number of these things. But before we do that, I think we'll just have a little bit of a idea of what's going on with our bookstore and all along those lines, and see if we can bring that up and see if we've got some things that'll let you know about this amazing bookstore that we've got and some of the other things that we've got going on as well. But definitely check out the fact that we're on Amazon Fire.